Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving deep into something I think we all struggle with.
Yeah,
Sticking with those healthy habits and goals,
absolutely.
we're cracking open Sean Young's Stick With It
Uh-huh.
to see what the science says about lasting behavior change.
It's not just about willpower.
Right.
This book dives into 7 psychological forces
Okay.
backed by real research
Wow.
from Sean Young and his team at UCLA.
Cool.
They've seen people change everything from their eating
Let's
habits
see.
to managing chronic pain.
7 forces. That sounds way more interesting than just trying to power through
Uh-huh. Right.
like I usually do. So let's hear that. What's the first one?
Well, the first one is called Stepladders,
Okay.
and it's all about breaking down those big,
Yeah.
intimidating goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Like how Nick Wallenda, the tightrope walker,
Uh-huh.
probably didn't just start by walking across the Grand Canyon route.
Exactly. He built up to it step by step.
Right.
And that's important because we humans tend to overestimate. Yeah.
Our capacity for change,
Yeah.
we think we can go from couch potato to marathon runner overnight.
Yeah.
But that initial burst of motivation often fades
Right.
because we get anchored
Anchor.
to what's right in front of us. Think about it. You sit down with a bag of chips intending to have just a handful,
Yeah.
but suddenly half the bag is gone.
Oh, yeah.
That's anchoring. We get focused on the immediate and overestimate how much we can actually change at once.
That makes so much sense. I've definitely been there with those ambitious New Year's resolutions.
Yeah.
So, Stepladders is about setting realistic goals
Uh-huh.
and avoiding that feeling of overwhelm.
Absolutely.
The book has a story about a guy named Rishi who actually used this to overcome his shyness, right?
Yes. Rishi was a teenager who wanted to be more outgoing
Okay.
instead of trying to become the life of the party overnight.
Yeah.
He started by talking to strangers for just 1 minute at a time.
Wow.
Then 3 minutes, then 5. He literally turned socializing into a step-by-step process.
And it worked. It did. He eventually became so comfortable talking to people that he ended up co-creating
Oh.
the Khan Academy Medical School curriculum,
Right.
which involves, well, a lot of talking to people.
Yeah.
It shows that even something as complex as personality can be shifted using stepladders.
That's incredible. That's really inspiring. Okay, what's the next force?
The second force is community.
Okay.
The idea that the people around us have a huge impact on our behaviors.
I can see how that's powerful, but communities can be kind of tricky, right?
Yeah,
Some can be supportive and amazing,
absolutely.
but others can feel, well, culty.
That's a great point. Not all communities are created equal.
Right.
The key is to find ones with a strong social magnet,
Okay.
genuine connection support, and a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
It should feel like a give-and-take relationship, not one-sided pressure.
This makes me think of the story in the book about Jordan Salazar.
Yes.
He was a weekend meth user who joined an HIV prevention community called Hope PE.
Yes, and it was designed with these principles in mind.
Okay.
Even though Jordan wasn't initially interested in HIV prevention, he was drawn in by the community's supportive and accepting atmosphere.
Right.
That's what ultimately led him to get tested and make positive changes.
It's amazing how a supportive community can provide that extra push we sometimes need.
Yeah.
Okay, on to the next force. Important.
Yeah.
This one seems pretty self-explanatory.
It does.
We do things that matter to us, right?
It seems simple.
Right.
But there's a nuance here.
Okay.
We often know what's good for us, eating, healthy exercising, etc.
Yeah.
But that doesn't always translate to actually doing it.
Tell me about it. My gym membership can attest to that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The key is making the benefits tangible
Okay.
and connecting them to your personal values.
All right.
The book gives an example of a cash transfer program in Mexico.
Okay.
They literally gave money to people in poverty.
Oh, wow.
And guess what? It had a huge impact.
Wait, so just giving people money
How helpful.
made them healthier?
It did. People thought it would lead to more drug and alcohol use.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
But instead, it
Yeah.
made healthy choices like buying nutritious food and going to the doctor more important. The cash removed a barrier and allowed them to prioritize their well-being.
So it's not just about knowing what's good for you. It's about making it feel important enough to act on.
Right.
This reminds me of another story in the book about Suzanne Crotty.
Yes. Suzanne tragically lost her son to prescription drug abuse
Oh, wow.
and channeled her grief into something meaningful.
Okay.
Advocating for prevention, that deep personal connection fuels her efforts.
It shows how powerful it can be to align your actions with what truly matters to you. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a force that I think we can all get behind. Easy.
Easy. Easy is all about reducing friction in your life.
Okay.
It's why we park closer to the store or order takeout instead of cooking.
Right.
We gravitate towards things that take less effort.
Speaking of easy, I have a confession.
Oh.
When I was a life insurance agent, my secret to success was making things super easy for my clients. I streamlined everything and offered a limited selection of products.
Okay.
And my sales went through the roof.
You were tapping into the power of easy without even knowing it.
Wow.
There's actually a psychological phenomenon called choice paralysis.
Hmm.
Too many options can overwhelm us,
Right.
making us less likely to take action.
So it's like when you stand in front of the cereal aisle for 10 minutes trying to pick one.
Exactly. There are even studies on this.
Oh, really?
One involved a jam tasting booth.
Okay.
People were way more likely to buy jam when there were only 6 flavors compared to 24.
Wow.
The same thing happened with chocolate. Too much choice makes our brains freeze up.
I'm definitely rethinking how many options I give myself now. Okay, let's move on to something a bit more mysterious. Neurohacks.
Ooh, neurohacks.
Yeah.
Neurohacks are simply tools to reset our brains and form new habits.
Okay.
The fascinating part is how simple they can be.
Okay, I'm all ears. Can I use them to finally get my dog to stop chewing my slippers?
Well, maybe not for slipper chewing,
Okay.
but one key concept is that our actions can actually influence our thoughts and feelings.
Oh.
It's like fake it till you make it.
Right.
If you force yourself to smile even when you're feeling down,
Yeah.
your brain might eventually catch up and feel a bit happier.
So it's like mind over matter.
In a way, yes. There's a study where people listened to an argument
Okay.
while either nodding or shaking their heads.
Uh-huh.
Those nodding were more likely to agree with the argument
Right.
simply because of their head movements.
Wow. I'm already starting to think about all the ways I can hack my brain.
It's pretty amazing how much our physical actions can influence our mental state. But there's another neurohack that's all about giving yourself a sense of control.
Oh.
It's called choice buy-in.
Yeah.
When we feel like we've freely chosen something, we're more likely to stick with it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm much more likely to actually do a workout if I get to pick which one instead of someone telling me what to do.
Exactly. So when you're trying to change a behavior,
Yeah.
find ways to incorporate choice. Maybe you set your own deadlines for a project or pick your meals for the week. It's about feeling like you're in the driver's seat.
This is giving me so many ideas. Okay, on to the next force. Captivating.
Yes.
This one seems pretty straightforward.
It does.
It's about making things fun and rewarding.
You got it. It's about tapping into what truly engages you, what makes you want to keep coming back for more.
Yeah.
And it's not just fleeting pleasures. It's about finding activities that align with your values and desires.
So it's like the difference between watching a mindless reality show and getting lost in a good book.
Perfect analogy.
Okay.
And research shows that our brains are wired to respond to certain types of rewards. We can actually use this to design experiences that keep us hooked.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. What are these brain-pleasing rewards?
Well, first let's debunk a myth.
Okay.
Money isn't always the ultimate motivator.
Right.
Sure, it's essential for our basic needs.
Of course.
But research from Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman suggests that beyond a certain point, more money doesn't equal more happiness.
So there's a limit to how much happiness my paycheck can buy. Interesting.
It seems so. What really matters is that rewards are tailored
Okay.
to your individual needs and preferences.
Right.
What motivates one person might not do anything for someone else.
Right. We're all different. Yeah.
For some, it's social recognition. For others, it's a sense of accomplishment.
Makes sense. We're all wired differently. So how do we figure out what works for US? Does the book offer any guidance?
It does. Young introduces 2 approaches,
Right.
quick fix and trick fix. The quick fix is all about providing immediate gratification.
Okay.
Think about the satisfaction of checking off a to-do list item
Oh, yeah.
or getting a compliment from a friend.
Ooh, yeah. Those little dopamine hits can be pretty motivating.
Absolutely. Then there's the trick fix,
Okay.
which uses surprise and anticipation. It's like those variable rewards that keep us glued to slot machines
Right.
or endlessly scrolling social media.
So it's the unpredictability that keeps us hooked. Clever. Are there any real-world examples of these fixes in action?
Plenty. Think about Starbucks' reward program with its personalized stars and freebies,
Yeah.
or Best Buy's loyalty program that incentivizes you to keep shopping.
Right.
They're using these principles to create captivating experiences for their customers.
It's amazing how these seemingly simple strategies can have such a powerful impact on our behavior. We on to the final force. Ingrained. This
Yes.
one sounds like it's all about forming those deep-rooted habits, right?
Exactly. Ingrained is the power of repetition shaping our brains.
Okay.
Think about learning to ride a bike.
Yeah.
It probably took a lot of focus at first, but over time it became second nature.
Oh, I totally remember those wobbly first attempts. It's crazy how something that felt so difficult can become effortless with enough practice.
That's the magic of ingrained. Our brains love to create shortcuts. The more we repeat a behavior, the stronger those neural pathways become until it's practically automatic.
So it's like building a muscle.
Mm-hmm.
But for our brains, the book mentions Gabby Giffords and her recovery rite.
Yes. After being shot in the head,
Wow.
she had to relearn how to speak, walk, and do basic tasks.
Right?
It was grueling, but through constant repetition, she was able to rewire her brain and regain those abilities.
It's incredible how resilient our brains can be.
No.
But it also makes me think about all those times I've tried to start a new habit and given up after a few days. Maybe I wasn't giving my brain enough time to build those neural pathways.
We often expect results overnight.
Right.
But like learning a musical instrument,
Yeah.
it takes time and consistency. You
Yeah.
wouldn't expect to be a virtuoso after a week, right?
Definitely not. I like thinking about my habits as little brain workouts now.
Yeah,
Gives me a new perspective when I'm feeling resistant.
that's the spirit. But keep in mind, ingrained can work both ways. It can create positive habits. A and D lead to negative ones, like addiction.
Right.
Remember those burning behaviors we mentioned earlier?
Right. Those compulsions we can't seem to resist.
Yes.
Our book talks about Charlie Brack and his video game addiction, didn't
Oh,
it?
yes. Charlie's story shows how burning behaviors can take over your life.
Right.
He was neglecting everything, his studies, relationships, even his own well-being, because of his gaming.
It's heartbreaking how something that can be fun in moderation can become so destructive when it becomes a compulsion. But it sounds like there's more to it than just a lack of willpower, right?
Absolutely. Burning behaviors often stem from deeper issues.
Okay.
For Charlie, it was depression and a need to escape his pain.
Right.
That's where these 7 forces used together
Yeah.
can create a more holistic approach to change.
I see.
It's about understanding the science behind our behaviors,
Yeah.
identifying those triggers, and using these tools to create new positive patterns.
So we've got this whole toolkit for change now.
Right.
But how do we know which tool to use when? Is there a formula?
There's no one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
The key is to understand the type of behavior you want to change.
Okay.
Jung talks about the difference between automatic behaviors
Uh-huh.
and burning behaviors.
Right.
Automatic behaviors are those things we do unconsciously,
Yeah.
like biting our nails or checking our phones constantly.
Oh, yeah.
Burning behaviors are driven by intense urges and cravings,
Right.
like those we see in addiction.
So we'd use different forces depending on whether it's an automatic or burning behavior.
Exactly. For automatic behaviors, easy and ingrained are often key.
Okay.
Make the desired behavior effortless and repeat it until it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Put your running shoes by the bed so you're more likely to go for that jog.
Right.
Or use a habit tracking app to stay accountable.
Those are great practical tips. But what about those burning behaviors, the ones that feel much harder to control?
For those, community, important, and captivating are crucial. Find support, connect with what truly matters to you, and create rewards that compete with those cravings.
Yeah.
Join a support group. Visualize your future self benefiting from the change, or come up with a reward system that excites you.
So it's about making those positive choices more appealing and sustainable in the long run. It sounds like sometimes we might even need to use a combination of forces, right?
Absolutely. Let's say you're trying to break free from social media addiction.
Okay.
You could use Stepladders to gradually reduce your screen time.
Yeah.
Find support and accountability through community, and use captivating to discover new fulfilling activities to fill that void. It's about finding what works best for you.
You know, this reminds me of all those emails we get from listeners struggling with different challenges. In fact, I have one right here
Okay.
from JP, who's trying to kick his soda habit.
Okay.
He says he's tried everything, but those sugary drinks are just too hard to resist.
This is a classic example of a behavior that can be both automatic and burning. There's the habitual aspect of reaching for a soda without thinking, and then there's the addictive quality of the sugar cravings.
So how can we help JP using these 7 forces?
First, it's important to acknowledge that he's not alone.
Okay.
Sugar is highly addictive, and those cravings can be powerful. but there are strategies he can use.
Okay, let's break it down force by force.
Mm-hmm.
Starting with stepladders. How could he use this to gradually reduce his soda intake?
Instead of going cold turkey,
Yeah.
which is incredibly difficult,
Right.
he could set small, achievable goals,
Yeah.
like cutting back by 1 soda a day, or swapping 1 sugary drink for water, or unsweetened tea.
So creating a manageable plan that feels doable, not overwhelming.
Exactly. And this is where community can be helpful.
Okay.
He could find a support group for people reducing their sugar intake,
Right.
or enlist friends and family who are on a similar journey.
Having that support system can make a huge difference. What about the important force? How can we help him connect with his values and use that as motivation?
We need to explore why he drinks so much soda.
Okay.
Is it stress, boredom, needing an energy boost? Once he understands the root cause,
Yeah.
he can find healthier ways to address those needs.
So instead of reaching for a soda when he's stressed, maybe he goes for a walk or practices deep breathing.
Exactly. Find those alternative coping mechanisms that align with his goals.
Yeah.
And speaking of goals, that's where easy comes in.
Right.
How can we make it easier for him to choose those healthier options?
He could keep a pitcher of water with fruit in the fridge or stock up on sparkling water as a substitute. Make it convenient.
Great ideas. It's about removing barriers and making healthy choices appealing.
Right.
And we could even incorporate neurohacks.
Okay.
Maybe he pairs a new healthy habit like drinking water with something enjoyable like listening to his favorite music.
So create a positive association in his brain. I love it.
Right. And then there's captivating.
Yeah.
How can we make those healthy choices more rewarding for him?
He could set up a reward system. Treat himself to a movie or a new book after a week of successfully reducing his soda intake.
That's a great idea. And it ties in perfectly with Engrained.
Yeah.
By consistently rewarding himself for healthy choices, he'll be strengthening those neural pathways, making them more likely to become habits.
It's amazing how these forces can be combined into a personalized plan for change.
It is. And remember, change is a journey, not a destination.
Right.
There will be setbacks, but it's about learning from them and moving forward.
This deep dive has been so insightful. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of how our brains work and how we can use that knowledge to make positive changes.
Me too.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners are feeling equally inspired and empowered.
Yeah.
Remember, lasting change is possible, but it takes understanding the psychology behind our behavior and applying those insights to our lives.
So true. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring these 7 powerful forces from Sean Young's Stick With It and how they can help us create lasting change.
It's been fascinating to see how they apply to real-life situations.
Yeah.
From overcoming shyness to tackling serious issues like addiction.
And we even used them to give JP some advice on kicking his soda habit.
Right. We've covered so much ground.
We have.
But before we wrap up, there's one more concept I wanted to touch on
Right?
that I found particularly thought-provoking.
Okay. I'm intrigued. What is it?
It's the idea of PTSD as a double-edged sword.
PTSD. We usually hear about it in the context of trauma and its negative effects.
Right.
What's the other side of that sword?
Well, PTSD, while undeniably a disorder, also highlights the incredible adaptability of our brains.
Okay.
It's essentially an extreme version of Engrained, where a traumatic event creates such a strong imprint on our neural pathways
Right.
that it leads to those intrusive memories and heightened responses.
So our brains are trying to protect us from future harm by making us hyper-aware of potential threats,
Exactly.
even if those threats aren't really there anymore.
Think about a soldier who's experienced combat.
Right.
Those flashbacks and hypervigilance, while distressing,
Yeah.
might also help him react quickly in a dangerous situation.
It's like a survival mechanism that's gone into overdrive.
Yes, and that's the challenge.
Right.
In civilian life, those intense responses are often maladaptive.
Right.
The book tells the story of David George,
Okay.
an Army veteran who struggled with severe PTSD after returning home. He was constantly on edge, scanning his surroundings for threats.
Yeah.
Even in safe environments, those intrusive memories made it difficult for him to function in everyday life.
It's a reminder that the line between a helpful adaptation and a debilitating disorder can be very thin.
It really is. But David's story also shows the potential for healing and growth.
Okay.
He eventually found relief through meditation, which helped him retrain his brain and regain a sense of calm.
It's inspiring how, even after experiencing such intense trauma, our brains can still learn and adapt.
It speaks to the power of seeking support and finding tools to help us navigate difficult experiences.
This deep dive has been a real eye-opener. I feel like I have a whole new understanding of what drives our behaviors
Yeah.
and how we can harness those forces for positive change.
Me too. And I hope our listeners are feeling the same way.
Yeah.
Remember, lasting change is possible,
Right.
but it requires a willingness to understand the psychology behind what makes us tick.
So true. And for our listeners who want a quick recap, we've put together a 10-point summary of the key takeaways from Stick With It. Ready?
Absolutely. Let's hear them.
Okay, here we go. Lasting behavior change is possible, but it requires understanding the science behind what makes people stick with it. Sean Young's book, Stick With It, provides a framework of 7 psychological forces that influence lasting change. Stepladders, community, important, easy neurohacks, captivating, and ingrained stepladders involve breaking down large goals into smaller manageable steps to avoid feeling overwhelmed. Community plays a crucial role in providing support, motivation, and accountability. Look for communities with a strong social magnet. The force of important emphasizes that true motivation comes from connecting with what is personally meaningful to you. Making things easy to do by limiting choices, removing obstacles, and simplifying processes can dramatically increase the likelihood of sticking with a behavior. Neurohacks are psychological tricks that can help reset the brain and create new habits. Captivating rewards tailored to individual needs and preferences can motivate people to keep doing something. Repetition and consistency are key for ingraining new behaviors into the brain. By understanding and applying these forces, you can create lasting change in your own life and inspire others to do the same.
What a great summary. We encourage you to revisit these forces, explore the stories that resonated with you, and start experimenting with these tools in your own life.
And tell us about it. What forces are you most excited to try out? What resonated with you? Share your thoughts on our website or social media. Until next time, keep exploring.